Thanos versus the Eternals. This one is gonna be fun. So I was watching the Eternals the other night when...
Behold, the royal prince of Titan, brother of Thanos.
This guy is Thanos' half-brother. Also a convicted sexual assaulter and all-around pervert. Have fun navigating that one, Marvel. But all of this definitely got me thinking. What if the Eternals had to stop Thanos? Let's say Iron Man never snapped, Cap never got Mjolnir, Hulk never brought everyone back, and it all fell on the Eternals. Could they do it? Could they really beat Thanos? Well, that's what we're gonna find out. Thanos, the mad titan, the biggest threat to the universe, the purple people purger, terror to Earth, and the Avengers, and the Guardians, and all of your favorite heroes. And he comes equipped with the ball-sackiest looking chin you're ever gonna see. And he has stacked up quite the resume over the years. He's been around for thousands of years, fought everyone across the cosmos and back and won them all. He's conquered countless worlds by himself. Absolutely nothing is standing in his way. He's basically like Genghis Khan on a galactic scale. Just this insane warlord who's conquering everything in his path. And there's nothing anybody can do about it, nothing anybody can do to stop him. Doctor Strange peeked into the future and saw every single possible outcome of their fight with Thanos, all 14 million of them. And Thanos beat Doctor Strange, the Avengers, and the Guardians in every single fight except for one. That's just a statistical anomaly at that point. That's what we're dealing with here. Even if they had managed to get the Infinity Gauntlet off of him, even if Star-Lord hadn't lost it, they still would have lost that fight. I mean, Thanos trashed half the universe without the Infinity Stones, just going from planet to planet, conquering them all. He was gonna beat the living daylights out of the Avengers, stones or no stones. Just his very presence demands respect. And for starters, Thanos is really strong. Like, really, really strong. I mean, basically no one can beat him in a one-on-one fight. A lot of them have tried. Some of them have gotten some good hits in, but they've all fallen. Each and every last one of them. Except if you've got chaos magic, I guess. Or cosmic powers. Or maybe just a vagina. Those seem to be his kryptonite for some reason. But seriously, he trashed the Hulk. Just absolutely destroyed the big green guy. And Hulk is the same guy who can one-shot Leviathans. He can even knock around Surtur when he was the size of a mountain. Thanos beat that guy easy. He beat Iron Man when right before that Tony got hit with a big freaking meteor from outer space and didn't go down. He overpowered Thor and did it again and again. I mean, props to Thor for getting back up each time, but Thanos was beating him every time. And Thor had restarted the Forge and moved the rings on Nidavellir, something that required hundreds of thousands of tons of force. And then he fought Captain Marvel and overpowered her too. Sent that girl flying, the same girl that could do this. And then when he was wearing the Infinity Gauntlet on his hand, he was still able to fight against her and hold her off with just one hand. He tore through Captain America's shield. He crushed the Tesseract in the palm of his hand, ripped through vibranium and plucked the Mind Stone right out of Vision's forehead. Thanos is ridiculously strong. Seriously, you don't want to cross this guy. And honestly, with just everything that Thanos has been through, he might be like more than tough. He might be tougher than tough. He was able to take fire and take explosions, take attacks from Iron Man as a repulsor blast, even lightning from Mjolnir and lightning from Stormbreaker. And then he took Scarlet Witch's chaos magic. The girl could rip through vibranium with ease, but she couldn't really rip through Thanos. And then there's just the Infinity Gauntlet and performing those snaps. I mean, the gauntlet itself is channeling enough energy to where it'd be able to light up a whole continent. Thanos was still able to put this thing on and then go on and fight against Captain Marvel. So it's pretty crazy to just be able to put it on in the first place, but it also requires an insane amount of energy to actually snap it. Hulk was the only one who was strong enough to do it. Thor couldn't do it. Captain Marvel couldn't do it. It literally killed Iron Man when he did it. And y'all saw what it did to the Hulk. Thanos is over here snapping that thing twice. He was sending out energy surges of cosmic proportions, something that the universe had never seen before. And yeah, sure, it did manage to injure Thanos, but he still snapped twice. He was able to walk right through the Hulk, walk right through Thor, took attacks from Captain America, Captain Marvel, all the Avengers, all the Guardians, every single hero. Thanos is easily the toughest fighter in the MCU. The guy is dang near impossible to put down. But here's the thing, Thanos isn't going up against just one individual hero here. No, he's going up against a whole team of heroes. Maybe the most powerful team of heroes in the MCU. The Eternals are a group of immortal heroes from planet Olympia, sent to Earth under orders from Arishem the Celestial in order to defend them against the Deviants. Except in actuality, the Eternals are just robots actually created by Arishem and are sent from planet to planet in order to make sure that the planet is producing enough energy in order to feed the new baby Celestials that have been growing inside the planet's core. Then the Celestial is born, the planet is destroyed, and the Eternals move on to the next planet in order to start the process all over again. So, just who gets to call themselves an Eternal? Well, let's see. There's Ajak. She's the leader of the team and is basically just the team's medic. Just running around and healing everyone throughout the fight, not really doing too much of fighting herself. Then there's Cersei, who's got this incredible ability to transmute any material from one thing into another, like turning water into wine or anything like that. Now, when she's tapping into the Unimind, which is when all the Eternals are all synced up together, they're directly tapping in and drawing power from a Celestial, well then she's able to transform anything into anything. Outside of that though, well then she's just limited to non-organic material, nothing alive. Which I don't know how she's able to transform trees then. Trees are alive. There's literally a tree of life in the animal kingdom, but I guess those are somehow exempt. Thena, a brave and unflinching warrior. You definitely want Thena on your side in a fight, except for when she loses her mind and straight up attacks you in the fight. But outside of that, she's a very good person to have on your team. She's very strong and very skilled and very fast. But more important than that, she can create any weapon out of the palm of her hand in an instant. Kingo is the rich, famous one out of the group, putting his powers and immortality to good use, making some cash money. Capitalism at its finest. He can charge up and fire a little energy blast out of his fingertips, which, I guess does put a whole new meaning on finger guns. Sprite is the fun one out of the group. She's the trickster and a little mischievous. She can create some pretty great and pretty complex illusions. So she's very useful in a fight because, well, how do you know who you're fighting against when you're fighting through all these different illusions? Really makes you think, huh? Droog is the hot one out of the group. Yeah, you might have thought it was going to be this guy, but no, turns out ladies love the brooding guy in the corner with a heart of gold who's going to treat them right. Fellas, take note. Droog can control the minds of people around him to the point where he said he could take over the minds of every human on the planet. And when he was synced up to the Unimind, well, Droog got an upgrade, just like Cersei, because he was able to mind control a Celestial. Phastos is the technology master. He's basically Tony Stark with superpowers, because Phastos can control any and all technology without even touching it. And because of that, well, he can create all sorts of technology right in the middle of the fight, which does come pretty freaking handy. Makari is the ultimate speedster. Also just happens to be a little bit of a hoarder. She can run all around the world in an instant. Is crazy fast, even in a fight too. And when she really gets going, well, she's able to hit you with some pretty epic slams and rams and shoulder checks. Gilgamesh is the quintessential strong guy. The big tough guy with a mean right hook who's not so secretly a giant teddy bear. He's the strongest out of all the Eternals. You can maybe even compare him to the Hulk. Although probably this Hulk, and not really this Hulk. And then there's Icarus, the Superman of the group. He's the most powerful out of all the Eternals, to the point where the dude can straight up fight against all the other Eternals by himself and still make it a good fight. So yeah, there's clearly some power discrepancy here. He's also got all the same powers as Superman too. Super strength, super speed, super durability, flight, the whole shebang. So just another blatant Superman ripoff to go along with all the other ones out there. So, who wins here? Who's coming out on top? Well, there are basically two different ways to look at this, because there are basically two different versions of Thanos. Infinity War Thanos and Endgame Thanos. And so let's see how the Eternals would do against both of them. Minus all the armies, of course. That might be a lot to throw at them. So if you want to get real specific with it, just this fight and this fight. Sub out the Avengers, sub out the Guardians, they need a break. Call the ref because the Eternals are going in. So first things first, I think Endgame Thanos is actually a pretty relatively easy win for the Eternals. If you take away the armies and the Infinity Gauntlet, this is just a big purple man with a real big, real impractical sword. Captain Marvel was gonna beat him. Scarlet Witch was gonna straight up kill him. Even Captain America had him on the ropes for a little bit. I think the Eternals can do the same thing. Sure, Thanos is still stronger than all of them. Sure, he's still tougher than all of them. He's actually probably still more skilled than all of them, but I still think he loses. It's quite possible that Drew can just mind control Thanos just like Mantis did, and that's the fight right there. There's really no way he's going to be landing any hits on Makkari, and she can definitely smack him around. I think Thanos is going to be hard-pressed to fight against Athena and Icarus and Gilgamesh all at the same time, and that's not even mentioning somebody like Cersei. One touch and there goes his sword. Now Thanos is just swinging around like a giant pool noodle or something. Throw in Sprite creating multiple copies of everybody, and Thanos doesn't even know who he's fighting against. I'm not sure if Thanos is making it out of this one. Now, the only counter argument for this is that Thanos is just too much. Even if the Eternals have the numbers and the powers and the abilities and everything going for them, Thanos, just by nature of being Thanos, is still too strong, still too tough, and just cannot lose the fight. Think Guardians of the Globe versus Omni-Man. It's just that this argument only holds up if you're really underselling the Eternals and think they are significantly less powerful than the Avengers, which just isn't the case. The director of the Eternals made several comparisons of Icarus to Captain Marvel. That's the power level that we're operating at here, suggesting that Icarus could give Thanos a good fight alone, much less all the Eternals and all their diverse powers and all their thousands of years of skill, and Thanos just being by himself with a big sword. I think the Eternals can take this one here. Now the Eternals versus Thanos in Infinity War? Well, that's a lot more interesting because now Thanos has the Infinity Gauntlet. Now it's just gotta change the whole game. So he's got the Power Stone, which can destroy planets and nearly kill Thor. He's got the Reality Stone, which can do a whole bunch of crazy stuff. He's got the Space Stone, which can open up portals, and the Soul Stone. And honestly, I don't even know what this one does. And the first step is to take the Infinity Gauntlet away from him, and then you gotta play keep away for the whole rest of the fight. And then it's basically just the endgame fight all over again, where you actually still gotta beat Thanos, all while keeping him away from the Infinity Gauntlet. Now, keeping the gauntlet away is actually maybe easier than you think. Just give that thing to Makkari, and I bet there's like a 1 in a million chance that Thanos ever gets that thing back. It's actually taking the thing off in the first place, that's the problem. But again, you have Droog, who can do the same thing that Mantis did. There's no Star-Lord around this time to screw things up. So Thanos is at least momentarily restrained, then you can send in Cersei. She doesn't have to remove the gauntlet or anything, just one touch and now Thanos is wearing a nice Christmas mitten or something, and he cannot use the Infinity Stones. And if that doesn't work for some odd reason, well, Fastus instantly came up with some tech that was able to restrain Icarus and at the same time start draining him of his powers. I bet he can come up with some way to get the gauntlet off. And if that doesn't work, well then just send in Icarus and Gilgamesh. I bet they can remove the gauntlet. They at least have a much better shot than Iron Man and Spider-Man did. And Tony and Peter almost got that thing off. And now the gauntlet is off and halfway across the planet thanks to Makkari. Or the gauntlet is straight up destroyed and useless thanks to Cersei. The Eternals are just now facing Thanos again. And Thanos is still Thanos. He'll take some people down with him, like Kingo or Ajax or people like that. But it'll still end up being the same fight. Icarus and Fastus and Athena and Gilgamesh, and Thanos is not beating that core. The Avengers really should have just called on the Eternals earlier, or the Eternals should have just stepped up into action when it first started. Because it would have saved everyone a whole lot of trouble, and a whole lot of heartache, and honestly a whole lot of time vacuuming up all that dust all over the place. Because the Eternals can definitely beat Thanos. The Eternals win.